All right, everybody. It is. I'm here live with Keith Acton. It's the moment
Greetings.
has come. We are going to finally be discussing this excellent film and addressing the gigantic Kryptonian or Thanagarian snare beast in the room. Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice. Welcome, Keith, again to the show. You there, Keith?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? I was
Yeah, I was
getting
just saying. We're just saying, welcome, man, to the show. It's good to have it back, and
yes. So excited. So many
there's
things to
so
talk
much to
about.
do.
So much to talk about. So
I
much
know.
to talk about. We're already looking forward to seeing this for the fourth time. Okay.
Yep.
We've done our
Uh-huh.
homework.
Yep.
There's so much to get into. There's so much to get into. God, where to even begin? Where should I don't even know where we start.
I have a couple ideas. I think we talked a little about this. So, according to the Facebook event we set up, to be safe, we set this for about 11:30 o'clock Eastern Standard Time start time. However, we talked a little bit about doing some pregame stuff, aka talking a little bit about DC Comics and comic book movies in general to kind of set the stage for what we perceive to be uh, the right movie, perhaps at the slightly wrong time, at least critically. One way I've thought about it lately. It's the right movie. It's just this is not what people are either expecting to see or it's something they don't want because they have some stupid competition thing going on because like Marvel or whatever. But it's at its core, we are looking at a good movie. It's just not a movie some people want. And it has nothing to do with canon. It has to do with expectations people set, most of which don't even like comics to begin with.
Right.
So I think it would be important for us, as we spoke a little bit earlier on the phone, to address um, kind of the layout of the land
Well,
cinematically before
you
we jump
know,
into it.
we watch all of these damn comic book movies, and we don't always agree on them. You and I don't
Yep.
always see eye to eye on these movies, and I think that's very important. That it's not to recognize that it's not just a circle jerk. It's the reaction to us coming forward with this is like, you guys are trolls,
Um,
but we do see the genuine merit in this movie and we recognize the issues that people are bringing up, but we just leave the theater every time feeling like, did we see the same movie?
right,
It
right.
is it's totally insane to us. It's so just considering just DC movies. Okay, let's start. Everyone, all right. The first thing, people are probably the most disappointed with Superman's portrayal in this movie. Okay, I think above all, I mean, myriad gripes, but like when you a lot of what I'm hearing is Superman is not right. He should be smiling. He should be saving the day. And my thing is that those movies already exist. you know,
Yeah, yeah.
we've gotten that sort of we go into this expecting a sequel to Man of Steel, which not everyone was on board with. It's a sequel to that, but it's also the start of an entire new cinematic universe, something that they're seriously gonna play catch up with Marvel, and we've anticipated this for a long time. Just like, oh, Aquaman is gonna be in it, the Flash is gonna be in it. Sounds a little bit crowded. We already had those expectations. You
Yep.
know. Ugh. So
So
yeah, you go on.
yeah. So we have a couple things that have kind of sorry, we got a lot of people talking right now about tuning in. All right, good, we're on. Okay. So just making sure everyone's able to jump in. Now, that being said, let's take a look what people are looking, I guess what they were looking for, or more importantly, what they were hyped up to expect. And I guess the biggest movie we should probably start with is, since this is the first movie with Batman here, and one of the things people are most interested in seeing is, well, the most popular Batman movies that came out, The Dark Knight, which I have a feeling we might be eating up the first hour between the both of us just talking about The Dark Knight specifically. So with this film, I know it's one of the popular things to say is, how great this film is in terms of how infallible The Dark Knight is, how it is a superhero genre masterpiece, completely untouchable. The standard for Batman films from here on out. I just
It's hype. I think it's a bunch of baloney. I think everyone who is praising those Nolan films, they've now just turned. They got their tails between their legs. Like, where are those people who love the dark, gritty tone now? Now they just decided all of a sudden, like what changed between like 2007 and now? Like, you love that gritty Nolan shit. You really like hate it all of a sudden just because the action is all of a sudden over the top and ridiculous, just because they've introduced Superman into this sort of like grim world, this grim take on the DC universe. It does not make any sense to me.
Yeah. That's definitely part of it. And let's address the fact, one of the big things, all right, spoiler alert, unsurprisingly, we're going to be talking about a lot of spoilers in Batman vs Superman. So one of the big things people are very angry at is that Batman is responsible for the death of a lot of people. Come to think of it, I think since we're kind of going freeform with our style of discussion today, I think the best way to handle this is let's start from the top about what's great about the new movie, and then compare it to the movies people seem to use as their defense when bashing this film. Like when we question people about why they hate this movie, we can then bring up the movies they typically use to defend their stance. So let's start with Batman in this one. Batman kills people. Is it directly? That's pretty gray. Did Batman kill people? Did Batman kill people in the other movies? Yes, and
yes.
Yeah, definitely. Without a shadow of a doubt, he killed people in every single movie he's been in. Adam West, maybe not, but that's still up for question. Let's look at the definition of murder, just legally, and then apply it to Batman. Let's even look at one of the biggest moments in the Dark Knight trilogy where he used his no-kill rule, which was in the first the Nolan movies, Batman Begins. He said, I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you. Okay, when the bridge was blown up, who ordered Gordon to blow it up? Batman did. So by his definition, someone like Charles Manson is not, complicit in what he was sent to jail for. If he ordered Gordon to do the job, so by definition, he's a killer. But let's go further, okay? Let's look at the most recent Batman film. Let's look at Talia al Ghul. How did she die again?
God, how I forget Talia's even in that movie. It's just such a goddamn dun dun dun, right? Like why is Talia in that movie? But
right.
Fuck.
Right. It's so frustrating. So let's continue forward. Batman is responsible for quite a lot of deaths. There's a nice little body count underneath Batman. It's just that he makes a very big deal about his no-kill rule, which is not something that's been canon for the entire time of the character. And may I go one further here? During the production of Batman 89, which included a Batman who killed people, no one can contest that. We all admit the Michael Keaton Batman killed people. They had Bob Kane on the set, and Bob Kane only had one thing to say about that version of Batman, quote unquote, it's perfect. Well, there you go. It's the guy who created Batman. He's okay with it. So we have to think, what is a product of the Comic Codes Authority, and what is something that is more of an acceptable canon of Batman? What must be there at all times? As far as I'm concerned, you want a character who is the physical epitome of physical perfection, mental perfection, a genius detective, amazing physical specimen,
brutal efficiency.
Oh yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, an ultimate human crime fighter. He's the pinnacle of human achievement. These are things we have never truly seen in any Batman film except for this movie. So we can start with the accuracy of Batman here. And one more further I'd like to go here with the Batman killer angle, because people complain he used guns. Okay, he used it in a dream sequence in a war situation, but we'll address that in a little bit. The other time he used a gun was an M60 that a criminal was holding, like a bad guy, one of Lex's goons was holding. He verbatim recreated a scene from arguably, not even arguably, forget arguably, one of the greatest Batman comics, if not the greatest of all time, The Dark Knight Returns. That was panel for panel with just some different characters, the same dialogue, even the same freaking gun. It was an M60. So the I'll kill her, I believe you part. Batman and not in The Dark Knight Returns, he should have shot the dude. In this one, he shot the tank on his back to, just get him off of Martha Kent. But yes, so that's kind of my 2 cents about it. The rule is so much more gray than people want to give it credit for. Like way more gray.
Yeah, no, he has a code. It's not a strict never ever kill. It's just that's entirely up to Batman. The times where he chooses to break that, it's for a very personal thing. Or in the case of this movie, we have criminals who are shooting at him. We have, he is commandeering the criminals' guns and using them against them. That's something you do in the Arkham video games. It is literally a counter. You can just, you fire off some rounds. That's just something Batman would do. He's using the criminals' power against them. He's instilling that fear. And it's never like, oh, Batman just killing indiscriminately. Yo, these guys are out to gank Batman in this post-apocalyptic this vision. I mean, he is going to die. Batman is surrounded by freaking killer troops with Kryptonian armor and shit. Like and it's a dream sequence. It doesn't actually happen.
That's a war. He's at war at this point. He's not fighting criminals anymore. He's in a war. And let's take a look at the highest reviewed Batman video game of all time, Arkham Knight. You and I talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
He drives around in a freaking tank with a cannon, running through cars and shooting cars. I'm sorry, the explosions didn't have fire, so they're non-lethal explosions that destroy cars.
You can just run people over in this movie, right. And just they'll go flying, but there's like a little bit of blue lightning around them. Batman just stunned him. Batman just stunned that guy as he ran him over 80 miles an hour.
Yeah, in a tank. He's a tank.
Totally fine. They'll pick him up later.
Yeah. Right.
Batman kills a lot of people. They just don't talk about it. All of these actions have repercussions in reality, and that's what this movie is about. That's in fact what they drove home in Man of Steel, despite like your disagreements with the tone. Anyone's disagreements with the tone. It's about the implications of this level of violence.
Yeah, right. It's interesting. It's a different look at it, and because at this point, we've told the happy classic, pre-crisis kind of Superman story before, and there's not much of a point to rewrite it. And from what I've gathered, I mean, I have my own theories on where the series is headed. Since we're talking Superman, I watched it once and I kind of got what we were doing with Superman, but then I watched it again because the first time I watched it, I was pretty much in awe of a few things. Because a lot of it was me going, holy crap, this Batman is perfect. So if I'm watching it a second time, I got to be a little more critical because there is a lot crammed in these movies, like especially this one, in terms of the DC universe. In this movie, I had a chance to kind of step back and think of the big picture for Superman. What they're doing for Superman in this is it's pretty big. Like when you look at Batman vs Superman, initially you think that it's a Batman movie featuring Superman. In fact, the true protagonist of this film is Superman. The movie is about the things that Superman has to face and the trials and battles and things he has basically to lose, the hardships, the pain and things he has to suffer to have a world accept him. He is a godly being. How can you possibly trust a being that powerful? Well, there is one way to do it. And that is the number one way we can unquestionably stand by this person is if he, spoiler alert, gives his life in our defense. And that is what he did. And in his resurrection, depending on the handle, and I'm sure they'll handle it fine, we will then see a complete Superman. Someone that is, he has now come to he's fully come to life here as a character. There's no way someone with those kind of powers that so so almost omnipotent can live in society, function in society, and then just have no doubts, no worries, and be exactly what the world needs him to be. I think one of my favorite comics that really broke that down was Irredeemable. That comic showed, like, even if you snapped once, you have become the greatest villain in the history of humanity. It was a what if Superman snapped kind of story, but it was a different character, but he was pretty much the same thing. He was written to be basically Silver Age Superman.
Right.
And it was fascinating. It really gives you an idea of like what the tremendous amount of stress a classic Superman character has to have. This shows us more of a relevant kind of adaptation of Superman.
It's almost like artistic license can add things to established characters, huh? It's almost wow. It's almost like a little bit of creativity might reveal an additional side to a character, huh?
Right.
They don't need to be exactly the same as your preconceptions, you know?
I mean, I don't really think like the things that Golden Age Superman had to face were completely different from what New 52 Superman has to face on a daily basis. They're both completely different. And one other way to look at it too is when you deal with like the kind of ramifications of the kind of battles these people fight all the time. When you deal with comic book panels, since it's picture by picture, it's so easy to avoid the kind of destruction because you're going panel by panel. And it's so easy to write around what could have happened. But again, now when you look at a real life action kind of situation, like a movie, it's so difficult to really write a movie like that where no one gets hurt, no one's killed, and you have these titanic battles and there's no collateral damage. It's just not believable in a live action movie. It just doesn't work that way.
Absolutely not.
It doesn't work.
And it's funny because I know, and I'm gonna keep bringing up Age of Ultron, but I actually caught some of it on today. And one of the things I was looking forward to in this movie was Batman's armored suit. And some people just like, oh, look at Batman in this dumb thing. He's only in it for like, someone posted this like, who thought it would be a good idea to have Batman wear this thing for the whole movie?
Yeah.
Like, he wears it for 15 minutes. It serves the function of him being able to take on Superman. But anyway, I digress. So the whole scene in the Age of Ultron with Veronica, the Hulkbuster armor, is so colossally stupid. Why? I mean, that is clearly a much more advanced version of his arm. Why doesn't he wear that more often? That's specifically just for the Hulk with like satellites that are able to repair it on the
That's
fly.
clever. Yeah, that's really
yeah. It's one of the most advanced things that Tony has ever built, and it's only used because Hulk is having a crazy fever dream that we never see. Like, wow, that was a great opportunity there that you fucking missed. Like, what did the Hulk see to make him just go fucking ballistic at everyone? But anyway. It's just so underwhelming, and they're tossing each other into these buildings, and you see everyone just scrambling around below, no one getting killed. It's not believable. These people are dead. Rubble is like metal. It's flying everywhere. When they smack into a building, people are falling out of the buildings. Like just because you don't see people die, that doesn't mean that people aren't dying.
Right. So we got a good comment here. I hope I don't mess the name up. It's from Lalantos Studios. I believe this is Justin because it would be very coincidental if somebody else. I'm not sure who this person is. Okay. Well, anyways, I thought it was our friend Justin. So he said, "quote unquote," and I'm going to give this one to you. He says, "I think the casting and tone of the movie was perfect, but as okay, sorry, it's probably a typo. All right, but as a writer and someone who studies and makes cinematic pieces, hey, Liana, hey, she's really cool. He says, but as a writer and someone who studies and makes cinematic pieces, they force too much in the movie only to set up for a sequel. What do you think about that?
Well, I touched upon this earlier. I mean, if there's anything that does hurt the pacing of the movie is that it is crowded, and I know for a fact that Warner Brothers had to be putting the screws to Zack Snyder's like, "Hey, listen, I know you wanted to just make a Man of Steel sequel, but here's the thing: we need to make like 6 movies now. We need we need to really cram this shit in there." So, yes, it makes the film, it hurts the pacing of the film. If you ask me, if they ended the film with them uncovering the metahuman files, and like instead of just the shot on Superman's coffin, if it just ended with them just like, all right, we got to find, we're gonna assemble the Justice League, people would have left the theaters more excited. They would have been looking forward to the sequels, and that's why. I mean, Disney's clever with their dumb credit scenes. We've come to expect them from every movie. There's none here. There's nothing in the credits in this movie. But, people stay after the credits like, oh, that's like a little teaser for the next movie I get to see. This movie didn't quite have it. It just kind of, they inserted it into the middle of the movie. So I will concede to that. But honestly, I didn't mind it. I mean, it just felt like a comic book to me. It's just like they do that shit all the time. They cram in crazy foreshadowing. It doesn't always seem organic, but it's something. It gives us something to look forward to. Yeah, but I do agree it could have been incorporated better into the plot of the movie. That's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, I haven't heard from her in a while. She's really cool. She was one of the big people that helped out in the DBC group during some of the the Goku Superman era, post Death Battle era. But yeah. So that being said, there's a lot to go over in this film. Trying to think of typical things people complained about. I think one of the main reasons we're doing this podcast has to do with kind of a train of thought that's very common when it comes to popular opinion. Now, I think personally, and I think this has to do with both of us here, one of the reasons we're so defensive over this particular movie, like we're really sticking out how much we like it. Yes, movies got flaws here and there, of course, but every movie does. Everyone does. Even any of the classics, there's always dumb parts in them. The main reason we're defending this film so vehemently is we with all of this negative hype going around for a movie that we really don't feel is really deserves half of what it's been given. It with this kind of bad opinion going around, this bad popular opinion, this kind of trendy popular opinion for this film that otherwise doesn't deserve it. I don't want this to stifle a sequel. I don't want this to stifle multiple sequels. This universe should be explored. It needs to be. It's fascinating.
The reaction is absolutely ludicrous. I mean, I'm not going to say you have to like the movie. Like I said, there's the script takes shortcuts. It stumbles. But here's the thing. The positives, what this movie gets right and what this movie does different from everything else, it just greatly outweighs that. Really, this felt like a significant action movie to me. The whole style, the production, everything just seems so uncommonly focused, and people want to give Zack Snyder a hard time, and I know for a fact he is on set with a copy of The Dark Knight Returns in his hand, just like, all right, that's what we're doing.
Yep.
He truly believes he's given the comic fans a treat, and I believe that. I felt very much that way, but people, pseudo intellectuals, people who just hold them as the authority on these characters. No, it needs to be this way. It needs to be how I like it, without even considering the context of the film. Why is Superman sad? Why is Batman so mean? Why does Batman kill him this? Maybe it has something to do with the movie opening up and he's looking at 49 11s happen at once.
Yeah.
Maybe he's triggered by the damn orphan.
Oh yeah, the girl,
a little girl who is just orphaned. He looks up at the sky at the aliens causing this damage. Oh, I don't get it. Why does Batman hate Superman so much?
That's a good point.
He has
way to look at it.
Him.
because he was. It opens up with him being It's a good actually. Let's think about that. So he was orphaned because of a rogue criminal that just random guy just came out and killed his parents. So that also made him orphan, and he wanted that element, the criminal element, to pay. He wanted it. He did it. He didn't want anyone to be orphaned the same way he was ever again.
It's
for those reasons.
The source of his fear. Batman uses fear because he is driven by fear, and that is what this movie drives home really well. Is that Batman? The wound is still fresh. Batman is like in his 50s or whatever, and he still is just dreaming about just he couldn't save his mom. He couldn't. He was a boy. There was nothing he could do, and
And now if we look at this, the parallel with that girl, he was probably thinking when he saved her, he's like, wow, this is something so huge, but justice needs to happen. And his idea of justice is, the Batman. And how could you hold these gods accountable for what they're doing? So that's a great way to look at it, because this world is different. This isn't the world of, anarchist Tom Waits guy with knives in his pockets. This is people that can shoot like lasers out of their eyes and destroy buildings and create earthquakes and survive freaking nuclear explosions to the face. This is a whole different dimension than Mr. You want to see my scars? Like, this is such a different level. And people are angry he's bending the kill rule. I don't think that's really in his head anymore. The game has changed.
War
and they address that. Right. And they address that in the in the beginning of it. They address it with Alfred, how he points out that the fear and the powerlessness is making him cruel. That
turns good men cruel. Literally says he might as well have just said, check your privilege, Master Bruce. Like sassy Alfred. He's always giving it to him. Giving it to him. Superman Superman sees what Batman is doing. He takes issue with that. Again, this is one of Superman's trials. We talked about the Batman, this impression that he's gotten of Superman. This is Superman's challenge to overcome. Batman has his mind made up. Batman is going to, he needs to make a stand. Batman needs to kill Superman. He needs to, if you're going to come to Earth, you're going to have to go through the Batman, We are
dealing with something that is beyond, this is theorizing, because we are in the eyes of Batman. We're not talking about, the Bruce Timm kind of animated series here where things can, the abilities of Superman are not quite as crazy as they are in this movie. The implications aren't quite as crazy. We are talking about a man who has been fighting crime and making it his job to fight human beings, other people with limitations, an even playing field, except he's got a shitload of money, but his even playing field. And now when this happens, everything is so different and terrifying. Like a man who drives on guilt, on fear, these dark emotions. When you see someone who can just almost throw buildings like children's play toys, like, it changes his concept of reality, how to wage the war. It is so different. He's watching Superman's battles that are wasting innocent lives left and right, and he's probably thinking, all right, well then, he's branding these criminals, he's hurting them. Who would not be driven to paranoia in that kind of outrageous situation?
The interaction between Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne literally says it all. Like, people are just like, why do they feel that way? What do they think? They say it right there. Hey, Superman's this guy. If he could kill us all if he wanted to, that I can't. He makes it right to Clark Kent's face. He makes a point. Alfred points out to him later, Superman's not our enemy, and he says, I don't care. We need to treat this as an absolute certainty. He can kill all of us. Gotta make sure he can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so at that point, like the no kill rule was something that he came up with when he was fighting human beings, and
Right.
also around the time of the Comic Code's authority. Do you think he's really going to care about that when Darkseid takes over Earth, when it becomes a war, when it becomes him exterminating mankind? You know, things. I would have a lot of trouble if he actually maintained the no kill rule. Again, we're talking about a dream sequence here, but let's just assume that is a premonition for things to come. If
Right.
this is an all-out war on human beings, it would be utter folly to be waging that war non-lethally. That's almost comical. That's suicide, even for Batman. Don't even consider that kind of a thing. Now Zack Snyder's in a tough position at that point. If you want to show what it's like to be on an apocalypse-controlled Earth, Batman's going to have to fight like a soldier, no questions asked.
Right.
It's a war. That's what you do in a war.
Exactly. I mean, it makes sense. This is a post 9/11 Batman versus Superman, you know?
Yeah.
They really drive that home, and people want to say it's stupid. Oh, well, it's stupid political, philosophical bullshit. Listen, there's a reason why Watchmen and The Dark Knight Returns are two of the most celebrated graphic novels of all time. It's geared towards adults. Sorry. You know, adults know people die. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it.
Yep. So, moving forward with a couple other topics on here, we had a question from Lelanto Studios again. They wanted to know what our thoughts were on Doomsday. First form, not a big fan of, but final form, yeah, I dug him. I thought he looked awesome. You were talking the design of him. So. And she's also bringing up that no one mentioned who Wonder Woman is. We'll start with Doomsday and we'll move on to Wonder Woman next.
Doomsday, I mean, that's such like a big name drop, right? Death of Superman. It's immediately what people associate with this, and people just didn't. They doubted. It's like, wow, they actually gonna do Doomsday? They actually gonna do Death of Superman? They work it in. Like I said, the script takes shortcuts. I mean, you know, the way that they come up with Doomsday's origin, the whole, you know, the cocoon, the whole the blood. It makes sense in the context. You know, Lex Luthor gets in the ship. We have knowledge of 100,000 worlds. Teach me. You know, he learned the important shit as soon as they got to like, oh, by the way, this Kryptonian mutation, like, aha, this will come in handy. Like, you know, he was very resourceful. This dude like lives at the library. Okay, he is just absorbing all this crazy useful knowledge. Now, Doomsday, I mean, he was so huge. I actually like he was imposing. He was powerful. He still moved very fast. He was scary. I mean, like there wasn't much to him as a villain. I mean, he was just like a big scary monster for them to contend with. But in terms of his CG, in terms of like what the stuff he was doing, you know, combat wise, and those shockwaves, it felt like Dragon Ball Z. You know, like you said, the final form, like it just kept ramping up. You know, he kept getting spikier and uglier and more powerful. And like, I was not disappointed with Doomsday as just a pure, like that was a set piece. It ended with the Trinity coming together to take down this ridiculous beast. And yeah, I had no issues with how he was done.
Yeah. Another question was that Wonder Woman was not named in the movie. I don't mind that because as far as I'm concerned, while she was awesome when she was on screen, effectively Wonder Woman and the other heroes were really cameos, and they really couldn't give much else to anyone else.
No one calls her Miss Prince or whatever, or is that
yes,
just
they call her Miss Prince?
Yeah, they call yeah. I mean, again, this is not Batman v Superman and also Wonder Woman. This is
Batman v Superman.
Yeah. This is Batman v Superman movie, and the dawn of justice is just we're getting a taste of what we can expect with Justice League. So Wonder Woman, I mean, her function in this movie, she just is making them look like chumps throughout the movie. Despite Bruce Wayne's detective work, she's right. He has never met a woman like her. She shows up just to get things done. And I could have used another scene or two of her, you know, because I really do like it. You know, I like Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I think she looks great. I love the armor. I think they really did a pretty decent job with her. But yeah, I get that people, desired more of her. And all I can say is there's probably more of her in the director's cut that's coming out in July with an extra half hour of footage. That's huge.
I'm stoked. I'm looking forward to her movie. The time period it's going to be set in is really exciting.
A World War I comic book movie. I mean, that's pretty cool. Like,
yeah. Not to mention, another thing I like about it too is if you think about World War One, it's easy to forget who she was because there really wasn't much mass media back at that time, so it kind of sets nicely to be.
You can see how she blends in. I mean, how is word gonna get around so fast? It's turn of the damn century. Like, we're still using telegrams. Like,
right.
I can see how they can play around in that setting and give her like an interesting story that sort of stands on its own.
Yeah. So let's talk about the constant movies that this gets compared to. We didn't really go too much in depth. Let's bring up a couple things that we didn't like about the big one, The Dark Knight. Let's address that. A lot of people think that this movie doesn't have the character development. It doesn't really have the quality overall of a movie like The Dark Knight has. So how about we start with something you brought up earlier on the phone with me? How about you go into like Harvey Dent or lack thereof Harvey Dent in the movie?
God, I just really hate how Harvey Dent was handled in The Dark Knight. I mean, if there's anything that killed that movie, it was just their lazy attempt at Two-Face. I mean, if you look at how Bruce Timm handled it in the original cartoon, all you need is that Bruce and Harvey they were friends. They were they had an established relationship. And Harvey's a little bit touched. He's got a bit of you see him visit the shrink, and you see that he's got a bit of schizophrenia going on. Got none of this in the movie. I really just did not feel for Harvey Dent on any level, and his transformation did not mean anything to me. It did not make any sense to me. It would, and I mentioned this on the phone. It would have made more sense if Joker got his hands on some fear toxin and manipulated Two-Face that way. Like, as silly as what a comic book excuse that is, it would have made more sense. I was not buying that character one bit, and it just left me feeling very unfulfilled. Two-Face is one of my favorite Batman villains, and they blew it. I honestly prefer Tommy Lee Jones in Batman Forever.
and yet another character that is among the Nolan Batman like death or body count. Harvey Dent directly killed by Batman in that movie, and no one seems to care. Major character right there. So is that and speaking of Dark Knight and the comparisons, we heard a lot about the comparisons between Lex Luthor and Heath Ledger's Joker. I do not agree with that. I don't think he's just ripping off Heath Ledger, but I love Lex to death.
I really do. I mean, just because
I grew to liking him a lot.
Yeah, just because he's humorous and just kind of like an anarchist, that doesn't make him. I mean, all these freaking villains are like, that's not something that's unique to the Joker. This is we are given a sad villain. He mentions that he had daddy issues. He lives in these books. He spends all of his time at the freaking library, and when the library has like an event in his honor, he's making a speech. And he's just choking. He's just absolutely dying. Just like Prometheus. Wait, no, that's not it. Shit. Like, he's just like, this dude is a mess. Yes, because it's paradoxical. Yeah. This dude is a mess. So when he comes up with this insane plan to frame Superman to influence Batman, I believe it because this dude is touched.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so he was awesome. I thought that initially I was a little annoyed by him at the beginning, a little bit. Like, I wasn't sure what to think of him. And then as we kept going forward, once we got to Lex Tower in like the near middle to like kind of end the second act kind of part of the movie, holy crap, he was awesome.
Just that image of him in the chopper just is shooting his hair, blowing in the wind. He's just throwing photos of Ma Kent at Superman, just like it's like you when we've started, you had an hour. Now you have less.
Yes.
Absolutely diabolical. Granny's peach tea.
Oh my God.
I could go on.
That scene.
Granny's peach tea. And people don't like this scene. People think this scene is just so out of nowhere, but that's the point. It's kind of the point that it's out of nowhere. It is absolutely, yeah, that callback to a conversation he has with the senator early in the movie. You watching it again, it's so brilliant. As soon as she said, "You're not gonna make me drink it," he just goes like he has a
Yes.
makes a little face and just like, oh, wait a second.
Yep. Oh my God. Yeah, that whole scene. Like I remember when I watched it the second time because now once you know what happens, you can go back and you can see that Lex is leaving little hints of what he's doing. Because when he reveals that he knew who Bruce Wayne was and he knew who Clark Kent was, you know, when he introduces, like, why in the hell would he introduce Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne? Like, why would he bother to introduce those people? Well, there's a reason why. It was his little way of kind of laughing at him. I mean, he tells Bruce Wayne straight up, you know, you should check my R&D department. We got some nasty stuff.
We're all up to not all
the no good.
My R&D is up to all sorts of no good. Yeah,
yep, and he points out Clark Kent's got a really firm grip. Why would he do that unless he knew he was Superman?
No, you do not want to pick a fight with this guy.
Yeah, and it's just
this
like,
person.
That's his way of being like, yeah. And then, oh, looks, I gotta go. He just made it so easy. And then when you found, like, once you realize, again, we're gonna use a lot of spoilers here. When I think the guy who had the crappiest time was the dude who was crippled from crippled
Wally.
Wally, yeah. Sorry about that. I was reading something. Yeah, Wally. Oh my God, poor Wally. Like, jeez. He loses both legs in Metropolis, and then gets furious at Superman. And you know, he's the guy that spray paints the big mural. And jeez,
Lex Luthor just like, hey, you know, there's gonna be a congressional hearing, or like they're gonna talk to the senator, and you know, here's a fancy new wheelchair, you know, like,
and it's only to put a bomb in the damn thing,
like, and
then he kills Mercy in the process. I thought that was brilliant. He used Mercy. It's just
no mercy.
Is open,
literally no mercy.
No mercy.
Like, how can you not love that? Like, and they really drive it home well. This dude's life, Wally's got no legs. He's got a crappy wheelchair. He's got a crappy life. This guy in a sharp suit shows up at his house with a fancy wheelchair. It's like, hey, we're gonna put Superman to task. just you know, oh yeah, no, I absolutely, I'm going to fight for that scene tooth and nail. I think that was one of the best comic book villain scenes like ever, like not since like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man when Green Goblin comes crashing in through the wall as Aunt May's saying the Lord's Prayer. Finish it.
Yeah,
finish it and deliver us from evil. Like, yes.
Yeah. Oh my God, that scene.
You can say how cheesy you think it is, but does it work? Does it work? Yes, it does. It's completely diabolical.
Yep. So, so Lex. I was not sure about him in this film, but then we watched it, and midway through it again, he had won me over. I was very much digging him, and he was just like, you understood his motivations, you understood him as a character, but he was just such a bastard at what he did. So with that being said, yeah, I think we're just touching upon the major characters. Now, one person I thought they improved dramatically just about her use. The overall writing for the character was Lois Lane compared to the last film.
Yes, absolutely. And Lois Lane had much more agency in the world that she was, and every time she got into peril, it was because she was trying to do the right thing. She put herself in danger, you know, and even she just can't go toe to toe with all of like these insane, like with Lex Luthor and Batman and Superman running around. She's not gonna always be able. She can't protect herself all the time. You know, people are so quick to like, oh, damsel. Like, you know, I think, they actually did improve Lois Lane. They made her, she was smart. She There was something to that character. She wasn't just in it for the eye candy.
Yeah, I agree. So, speaking of Lois, let's address something that people complained a lot about. People got upset, going, why did she throw the spear in the water? There was in the movie. Those who didn't see it and who are okay with spoilers, obviously, it's few the people who are left, I suppose. So she threw a spear into the water, the one that Batman was going to use, the kryptonite spear, into this pool of water in the area they were fighting in. So
this is just randomly part of Gotham City. Yeah.
Right. So people were going, why did she do that? Because later they needed it to kill Doomsday. Okay. So at that point, let's see the reasons why she should have done it and why it made sense. So starting with, there was nowhere to put it. She had a chopper that brought her there from the Daily Planet during the fight they had. And, I mean, who really would know if they'd need a kryptonite spear? Like, for instance, there was a lot of crazy stuff going over, at the ship that Lex was messing around in. Sure. Did we know a Kryptonian, an ancient Kryptonian deformity was going to come out? No. The really, at that point, before Doomsday showed up, the only thing that spear was good at was killing Superman.
The person she loves. She feels sick when he is near this thing. Of course, she's just going to chuck it.
Yeah.
Get that shit away.
Right. And again, she had nowhere to put it. What's she going to do? Go to the Daily Planet and be like, oh, yeah, look, I found this on the ground. Like, what's she going to do? Glowing fucking green spear? That's not going to work. So, do you have the chat open in your on your desktop?
Are you getting like an echo?
No. I'm just wondering if you had the chat. There's just people talking in it right now.
Oh, it's like it's not showing up. I'm like I'm
on the YouTube link
if I could like open up like let me see.
I sent you the link of it on your chat. Just click the YouTube link and just pause on a video.
I'll just mute the YouTube. Let me see if I can.
Is
it? Yeah, there it is. Now I can see him. Now I can see the comments.
We got a lot of people. Leanna's got another great question. She brought up that Flash in a mechanical costume. Now, I have to say the Flash thing. We don't know what that is at the moment.
That was definitely on top of his costume. It opened up and you can see his mask underneath.
That was something time travel related.
Yes, that suit, I think, amplified his powers. I think we're going to find out what the hell that suit is when we get to the Flash movie or Justice League or whatever. Yes, it was weird. Listen, yes, that is the weirdest part of the movie. I cannot stress this enough. And I grew to forgive it more when I watched it twice and for the third time, because when it comes down to it, I would love to see a post-apocalyptic Batman movie. I think the vision of that scene was actually quite cool. Now, but it is an main part of the movie that's just plopped in the middle and like at the end of it, and it's weird that Batman wakes up twice from this dream. Okay, it doesn't make he wakes up twice, but yeah, the Flash shows up. It's like, Bruce, you have to find us. Like, yes, that is a shortcut that they took the script. Okay,
if you don't mind. I'm going to go back to them real quick. If you don't mind answering a few comments and whatnot, and I'll be back in like 3 minutes if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I will be right back.
All right. We'll just see. I guess it's still let's see what's going on. See these comments. Lois, blah blah blah. Blah, 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 blah. Lex remind me of the Riddler. Well, I mean, he was quoting Alice in Wonderland. That's the whole. I really liked how studious this Lex Luthor was. He wasn't just like a 6 foot tall bald man, just like like just shaking his fist. This this guy was like Martin Shkreli, This guy was a modern day, young upstart. I love the direction. I love the direction as much as I was excited for the original casting choice of Bryan Cranston as Lex Luthor. Looking back at it now, I wouldn't want it done any other way. I really like the spectrum they have. We have like a sort of like you have a young-ish Superman, like almost like middle age. We have like an older Batman, and we have a young villain. And I liked how it just all clicked for me. I liked the cast immensely. I really did enjoy the cast. What else we got? Yeah, the dream character. Yeah, in the Wikipedia page, it just says the time traveler. But yeah, from what I can tell, I mean that looks like the goddamn Flash inside that time travel suit. Same way, yeah. Well, we don't know. It looks a lot like the Flash. I don't know what to tell you. It looks like the Flash in a crazy, yeah, like Tim pointed out. It lets him tap into the Speed Force and share that vision with Bruce. That's just the theory, though. We really don't know, and that's why it's probably it's the most problematic part of the movie. Okay, the first time I watched it, I was like, listen, if there's one thing that did not work as well as it could have, it was that insane nightmare. In fact, people hate. Oh yeah, Kelsey. You know, yeah, the Nolan movies, not that great in hindsight. They're fine. Chris Nolan's a fine director. That's a whole nother discussion. It's a whole nother discussion. Let's try to get back here. Yes. Okay. So here's another nightmare that Batman has that I think could have been removed. And again, I get why they had it. I get why they had the nightmare of Bruce coming to the crypt and sees that his mother's grave is bleeding. Then all of a sudden, like this insane giant bat comes crashing through the wall. And yes, you could have removed that, and it would not have affected the story in any huge way. But I understand that they did that to show that the wound was still fresh, that Batman is still driven by his own fear. He could not save his mother. You know, it helps soften the whole. We're gonna get into this, and people when he comes back. People just hate. They just cannot get over that the reason that Batman and Superman stopped fighting is because their moms both have the same name. People think that's the most stupid, contrived reason ever. And well, I disagree. It's true. Both their moms' names are Martha. It is that name has significance to Bruce. They show this in the opening credits. They show that they reinforce Martha again in that crazy crypt nightmare I just mentioned. So you can see that how that name can humanize Superman in Batman's eyes. I did not mind that one bit. Yes, it was a little silly. You know, I was just talking to Chris that it goes a little too fast. It's a little, yeah. Did we just become best friends? Yep. Like stepbrothers. It's you know, he goes saves his mom. It happens. It's a bit rushed. Okay, towards the end, it's like they just all right. This is a fucking 2.5 hour movie. We really got to wrap this thing up. So yes, it ended up feeling a little bit crowded towards the end. But I do not. I mean, it was just kind of a crowded movie in general. It was hacked to shit. We are missing 20% of what was filmed. It's a 3-hour director's cut coming out in July. So just something to keep in mind. Again, this is something that people did not seem to mind with Age of Ultron. Oh, can you hear me? I can't. Yeah, I don't hear you. I don't. Yeah, no, we're trying to get Rob back into the chat. Trying to get Rob back into the hangout. Oh wait, I see your bubble. I see. Can anybody? I can't hear. I can't hear anybody. Oh boy. Oh boy. Let's My different tab, but it's all frozen. Okay, no, I can't. Can't hear Rob yet. Okay. Come back, Rob. Nothing happened. I can hear you fine. I don't. I gotta. Let me just rejoin the chat then. I'm just gonna rejoin the chat. I mean, just so it can. Can you guys hear both of us? Is just still me talking? All right, I'm just gonna try. We're working on it. We're working on it. Okay, we're working on it. We're still before 11:30. We're just getting warmed up. We're ironing on all this stuff. Like Tina Belcher. Hi boys, I'm Tina. I like butts. Christ. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna try rejoining the chat.